What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you Week 8 of Season 5 of CPC Majors, and this week I have a matchup against Chime and the Gaia Gardevoir, and this matchup, while Chime is below 500 on the season, this matchup this week, can clinch me a spot in playoffs. So this is actually a pretty significant week, and I'm definitely taking this 100% seriously because, first of all, Chime is an amazing player, did very, very well in TTM March Madness. So, I mean, he's somebody that, while his record is not very good this season, I mean, he's still a very, very good player that can knock off almost anybody at any given moment. So he's somebody that I definitely cannot afford to overlook at all. And fortunately for me, this is probably my best matchup of the season. So looking at Chime's team initially, he has Mega Lopunny, Thundy with Z-Move, Slowbro, Tangrowth, Flagon, Florges, Doublade, Nihilego, Cryogonal, and Magmar. Cryogonal, I don't know, however you want to say it. So his team is actually very scary and fat. I mean, he has the double regen core of Slowbro and Tangrowth. He has like Florges, Doublade as fat stuff. Megalop and Thundy are two insane threats, but actually my team has very good matchup with Mega Lopunny, which is something that not a lot of teams can say. So I'm actually pretty content with the Megalop matchup on my end. But Thundy, oh my gosh, that thing is a threat. That thing is absolutely terrifying, especially with a Z-move like Nasty Plot, Gigavolt, Havoc, just destroys something on my team. I mean, apart from Lando, but I mean, there's this little thing called HP Ice, which murks me as well. So I have to be very, very careful with his team. But overall, what I'm noticing is that my matchup is great. Like, I already said that, but he has about 3 Mons, and Jolt and Jack both agree with this. Those are the two people that I got to mock for this matchup. They both agree that there are about 3 Mons that Chime has that are very threatening to me, that being the Thundy Eye, the Slowbro, and the Nihilego. Like, all those 3 are threatening to me. The rest of his team is just kind of a, well, those are okay. I mean, Megalop actually has a pretty poor matchup with me overall. I mean, given that I have Druddigon, Lando, and Cresselia. I mean, those are on the screen, but, like, I also have Crobat. I mean, basically, I just have a very good matchup against Megalop, and it's forced into some very peculiar situations just to deal with my threats. I mean, particularly Cress. Cress is almost a 100% counter to Megalop, to where it's forced to run things like Encore to try to keep from losing to my Cresselia and just going down without a fight. So his round 1 pick is essentially nullified by my Mons, but Thundy is something I'm definitely going to have to work around and try not to get swept by. But one thing I am noticing, Scizor wrecks him. Scizor just destroys him. I mean, SD Scizor, if I get +2, I straight up just win. I mean, Magmar is the only thing that can potentially stop that, and funnily enough, I saw Magmar in both of my mocks, so I was like, oh, well, maybe I just have to play a little bit more careful with Scizor in the actual game. So, I mean, yeah, Scizor just destroys him apart from Magmar. So that is basically what my game plan is going to be around. Don't get swept until I can set up Scizor is what this team is going to be centered around. Now, first of all, in the same slot as always, we have Big Body Brawlic, the Landorus Therian with a Choice Scarf. Now, I figured that Choice Scarf Landorus was the best for this matchup because it outruns Megalop and Thundurus, and then also just has good coverage for the rest of his team. Basically, Thundurus can sweep me, so I was like, you know what, I need to have Choice Scarf Landorus because after rocks I am able to OHKO certain variants of Thundurus, as long as he's not super bulky Thundurus, with Rock Slide after rocks, like I said. So Landorus is just kind of my don't get swept mon, and then Earthquake with some damage off on Mega Lopunny is able to KO that thing as well, and then Knockoff gets rid of things like Rocky Helmet, Leftovers, U-Turn just gives me momentum. Basically, Landorus is my not get swept mon in this game, and also I guess by that token, he's also the Revenge Killer. With the investment, he has 212 speed and Adamant, so 212 speed hits me at 271, which is just enough speed to outspeed Jolly Max Speed Megalop, which, I mean, probably won't run, but he probably has to run Jolly because I have Crobat, which outspeeds Adamant Lopunny, so that's what I'm thinking. And then the rest in attack, and then just dumped into HP, so Landorus hits as hard as possible. And then the HP, while it's not like overly significant, it's just enough to where it's like, maybe I can throw off calcs on certain things, like maybe Ice Punch from Megalop if he put in enough investment for that, or Ice Beam, Hidden Power Ice from Slowbro, Tangrowth, that type of thing. So basically the HP is just to try to throw off the calcs a little bit. Then we have Mama, and this, okay, so every week I have a set that I put in the most time into, just like calcing out everything, making sure that I optimize it as much as possible. And between Kang and Cress, Kang is probably the one that I put the absolute most into. So first of all, we are going with, we're basically going with a special workup variant of Kangaskhan because he has two viable Rocky Helmet users in Slowbro and Tangrowth, and he also has Doublade, which is completely immune to my stab. So basically running Double Edge or Return is a 100% no-go because Rocky Helmet on Slowbro and Tangrowth are straight up, I mean, that's just what they run anyway. It's standard on both of those guys in the current current Smogon tiers, so being able to regen and have Rocky Helmet is very bad for Kang. So I'm running a bunch of non-contact moves and also special to basically lure out and Oko his Mega Kang counters and also get some heavy damage off on the rest of his team. So workup is to take advantage of any switch that he might use when he has a matchup against Kangaskhan. Ice Beam and Thunder. Well, first of all, Ice Beam is to take out Flygon and Tangrowth, and then Kangaskhan needed 204 with a boosting nature on special attack to Oko, max defense Tangrowth at +1, so that's what Ice Beam is for. And then Thunder takes care of Slowbro. Basically, these two moves take care of his most likely Rocky Helmet users. Thunder with 216 and boosting nature in special attack at +1 is able to Oko max HP Slowbro after rocks, and I could not, even with 252, I could not get a guaranteed roll on just like straight up Slowbro, like without rocks. And keep in mind, this is without any special defense investment on Slowbro either, so this is just calced purely physically defensive for Slowbro and Tangrowth, so that's what I went with. And yeah, Thunder, because Thunderbolt just wouldn't do the job. And I can miss, but if I have the chance to just take out Slowbro without having it do anything, that is something that I have to take. 56 attack is to guaranteed 2-hit KO Doublade at +1 with Earthquake. Basically, I just want to make sure that I take that thing out and don't allow him to try to like switch in, seeing that I'm not overly physical. I mean, to be fair, Thunder's still going to do a ton of damage to it as well, and I could just run Fire Blast, but Earthquake is also to be able to one-shot Nihilego if it tries to come in, because Mega Kang is super, super bulky in this matchup. Now, as for the rest of the EVs, I already explained the special attack and the attack. Rest is just thrown into HP to make it as bulky as possible, and I went with the Quiet Nature because looking at his team, there is a gigantic disparity in his speed tiers. Like running, I mean, after Flygon, well, and I guess Magmar to an extent, but I'm really not overly worried about Magmar. After Flygon, there's really nothing I want Mega Kang to be able to like outspeed, because he's not going to be running like max speed Tangrowth, Slowbro, Florges, or Doublade, so I can afford to throw all this in HP and run a speed hindering nature and still outspeed what I need to, so that's why I decided to go with Quiet. Then we have Rest Talk Cresselia. Now this set is disgusting. Like, this is such a this Cress set is just gross, because it allows me to take on his entire team, like Psychic and Toxic. Admittedly, Doublade's a little bit of a problem, but one thing that I have noticed that people have done this entire season, and one thing that both Jack and Jolt did, was Toxic my Cress. And I don't blame them at all. If you're going up against Mega Kangaskhan and Cresselia, Toxic is going to be your best friend. So I decided that, you know what? I will use that against them, take a page out of their book as well. So I have Rest Talk Cresselia to be able to take on his threats, because Psychic and Toxic do what I need it to do, but again, apart from Doublade, but I don't necessarily think he'll bring Doublade, and if he does, then I have plenty of responses to it as well. Psychic does the damage that I need. It's my Mega Lop counter. I'm able to just significantly damage some of his stuff, like Megalop and Nihilego. I'm able to hit super effectively with Psychic, and then I have Toxic to wear down things like Slowbro, Tangrowth, Florges, Flygon, because what I've noticed is that he will sack Amon essentially to try to get a Toxic off on Cress. Well, I mean, if he plays it similarly to the Mox. Like in the Mox, both Jack and Jolt allowed me to Toxic their Slowbro or Tangrowth or whatever, just to try to get a Toxic on Crest. So if I'm able to trade Toxics, I have Rest, they probably don't. So that is 100% amazing for me. As for the crest set, I wanted it to be Spadef in order to better take on Thundy and Nihiligo, but I put in 52 defense investment just to guaranteed avoid the 3-hit KO from Jolly Mega Lopunny with return, and then I can just always rest on something that I'm faster than, like Slowbro, Tangrowth, Florges, something like that that can't take me out. So basically I just wanted to be a Spadef wall, but also be able to answer Mega Lop as well, as Cress is my response to that. I have Druddigon, and I actually really love this Druddigon set. So first of all, like I said before, I need a little bit of damage on Mega Lopunny in order for Landorus to guaranteed KO with Earthquake. Druddigon is essentially designed in this matchup to get up rocks, get some Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin off on Lopunny, and die. Like, that is all Druddigon needs to do. And in both of my mocks, it was actually able to do that very, very well. So yeah, I honestly love this Druddigon set. Stealth Rock, just to wear him down. He has no removal. Oh, I mean, he has Flygon and Cryogonal, but Cryogonal has a very, honestly, horrible matchup against me. I guess not too bad, like Freeze Dry, Hidden Power, but I mean, then again, Crest walls completely Mega Kangaskhan, even though my Kangaskhan can't hit it too hard. Normally, Mega Kang eats it for breakfast. So, I mean, Cryogonal is a potential bring, but other than that, I really don't see him necessarily bringing hazard removal. I mean, Flygon could, but then that's sacrificing a move slot, and Flygon already has very bad floor move slot syndrome against me, so I'm not thinking that Flygon will have that either. So basically, Drud, just get up rocks, put Mega Lop in range of Landorus's Earthquake, and then die. And then the rest of its moves are just kind of not to get swept by something else. So Toxic is for like Slowbro that tries to Calm Mind up on me, Florges that tries to Calm Mind up on me, that type of thing. Just basically wear them down and force them to rest or Aromatherapy. Basically just give me a free turn to get in something that I can handle it with. Earthquake is for Nihiligo, also Doublade that might want to try to come in. Just get a little bit extra damage off on something, and then Dragon Tail is also my way of dealing with like Calm Mind Bro, other setup sweepers that try to set up on Druddigon. I can just Dragon Tail them out and be like, yeah, you're not setting up on me today. Now, as for the EV spread, it's really very straightforward, just physically defensive to be able to take hits from Mega Lopunny and not get knocked out. Maybe a hit here and there from like Doublade, and also get some damage off on Doublade if he decides to bring that. Take knockoffs. Just Cress is specially defensive and Drud is physically defensive. So that's what I'm going with in this matchup. And then 24 speed is to outspeed 4 investment Tangrowth. Because I mean, if you're a very standard spread on Tangrowth would just be 252, 252. And then if he was feeling it, he could throw the 4 in speed. The 24 speed on Druddigon allows me to outspeed Tangrowth, and that's really all I wanted to outspeed. I could outspeed Florges, but there's really no point, and also I would lose a lot of bulk to do that, so I decided just to go with the 24 speed and then the rest in defense to be able to take hits and more reliably get up rocks and then just kind of die, because that's what Druddigon is designed to do. I'm also bringing Carney, the Tentacruel with Shukaberry for Flygon. Basically, this is my answer to Flygon that tries to get 2 out of hand, or that tries to come in and Earthquake me, that type of thing. So I have Rapid Spin, Ice Beam, Scald, and Haze. Haze once again to keep his things like Slowbro and Florges from getting too many Calm Minds on me and sweeping me. Other setup sweepers from trying to set up on Tentacruel, on like a weakened Tentacruel. And when basically I have such a good matchup that all I have to do with my Mons is prevent him from sweeping me and prevent him from getting too set up with his other Mons. So that's what Haze is for, is just to neutralize that completely. Ice Beam, able to hit Flygon, Shuka, or not Shuka, Scald, just good neutral hit, able to potentially burn something, and then Rapid Spin to get rid of rocks if he tries to get those up against me. Basically, Tentacruel is just kind of a, okay, Flygon could potentially be a problem, but with Shukaberry and Ice Beam, I am able to take that thing out, and also Rapid Spin can get rid of hazards if for some reason he tries to hazard stack against me, even though he really can only get up rocks, so hazard stack isn't necessarily a problem. Tentacruel just has a decent overall matchup with like Scald, Ice Beam, and Haze, just to prevent his sweepers from setting up on me. Now, the 72 in special attack is to guaranteed Oko Flygon after rocks with Ice Beam, and then the rest thrown into HP and defense. Shukaberry is because I feel like he'd be inclined to stay in with Flygon and try to just take out my Tentacruel immediately, or switch in Flygon to try to take out my Tentacruel, and this way I can just chew the hit with my Shukaberry and knock it out with Ice Beam. And finally, the piece de resistance is Scizor. Now, this Scizor is the most straightforward member of my team. SD, 3 attacks, knockoff for Doublade, Bullet Punch for fast stuff, and, well, yeah, Bullet Punch for his faster stuff, and then Bug Bite for his slower fat stuff like Slowbro and Tangrowth. Very, very straightforward. Leftovers, because I didn't need any extra damage from Life Orb. All the calcs, all the relevant calcs anyway, are just fine with leftovers, and this gives me a little bit more longevity. Also allows me to not have to predict as much. Once I SD, if he tries to like wear me down with Rocky Helmet, leftovers lets me kind of cancel that out a little bit and then just kind of win and just attack what's in front of me once I'm at +2 and gives me a much better chance to win. Investment, don't need to really outspeed anything because Slowbro and Tangrowth are going to be outsped by Scizor anyway, unless he's like super fast Tangrowth or super fast Slowbro, which you wouldn't because you'd want a lot of investment to be able to deal with Kangaskhan and Landorus most effectively. So I was able to just throw on max HP, take hits as best as possible, throw the rest in attack and go Adamant to hit as hard as possible, and then 4 speed just in case they're trying to like outspeed Scizor, outspeed like, I don't even know. I mean, just 4 speed was like, might as well throw that in there. And yeah, just a very, very straightforward, but hopefully very effective Scizor set that I'm going to use. And yeah, that's pretty much the team. Let's just go ahead and jump on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the game. And like I said, Slowbro, Thundy, and Nihilego both had a decent matchup against me. So, I mean, why wouldn't he bring it? Megalop is kind of just one of those mons that you bring even if it doesn't have the best matchup because it can still, like, if you underestimate that thing, it will just straight up sweep you. Now, Florges and Doublade were 2 things I did not predict him to bring at all, and both of my mocks in those slots were Flagon and Magmar, but this actually works out a lot better for me because Druddigon is less threatened turn 1, so I'm able to get up rocks a lot more easily, and Scizor, once it gets to +2, pretty much just wins. Like, if I get rocks up and Thundy chipped just a little bit, Scizor will actually just straight up win. So that is going to be my game plan. And like I said, I am going to lead off with the Druddigon because he doesn't have the Flagon to threaten me. I'm going to just get up rocks as soon as possible. He has no method of getting them off. And he leads with his Nihilego. I know even if it's Specs, I'm not going to die to like a Dazzling Gleam or anything like that. So it's just a free rocks. He goes for the Power Gem. And not wanting my Druddigon to get knocked out by potential like Dazzling Gleam, maybe he was just scouting early on with Power Gem, I am going to go into my Crest as he goes Slowbro. And this is a situation that I was actually planning for with Rest Talk Crest. I get a Toxic on him as he gets a Toxic on me, but I have Rest Talk, so now I have the Slowbro Toxic, and you might think, okay, this was a good trade, but this actually works out so much better for me with my Crest because, like I said, I do have Rest and Sleep Talk. Now, right here, I know he could go Doublade or stay in, so I'm just going to, honestly, like, I had nothing better to do. I didn't want to switch anything in on a Scald and get it burnt, so I'm just going to throw off it to another Toxic. I mean, if he goes Doublade or stays in, if he stays in, that's a little bit extra damage on Slowbro. If he goes Doublade, then I have a Druddigon just to get more damage as he does go into the Doublade and is immune to the Toxic. But again, Crest is just fine, only taking about 12% from the Toxic, so I can just rest up later. As I go into my Druddigon, he does go for Shadow Claw, damages the Doublade pretty nicely, and right here, I'm going to go for a Toxic once again, thinking that he's probably going to try to go into like Florges to take advantage of my Druddigon. Like if I just go for an Earthquake or something, or Fire Punch, Florges can chew that and hit me back. So I am just going to go for a Toxic right here as he does stay in. But again, even though he has technically gotten me on these last, well, I guess 3 turns? No, he's got me on the last 2 turns that I've attacked by going into Doublade. But even though I've gone for Toxic and Doublade's been immune, I've still got Doublade down to below half. Like, I've got Doublade in range of neutral Earthquake from Kangaskhan. I've got it in range of, like, well, not quite Scald, but I mean, basically, I've got Doublade lower than I got Doublade below half. Sorry, I'm, like, tripping over my words right now. I got Doublade below half without even attacking it, and even though he technically predicted me, I'm still coming out on top in this. So Druddigon is low, but I want to save it as a sack for later, because, I mean, Tentacruel can come in and just fire off a Scald. Like, Doublade isn't too threatening, even if he SDs predicting the switch, which I know he won't, because all Druddigon needs to do is just go for an Earthquake, and Doublade will be down after an attack of his own. So I go into Tentacruel just to take the, well, actually, he goes for Shadow Sneak, which I have predicted, but, I mean, I didn't necessarily predict it. I was like, I feel like he's going to go for Shadow Sneak, but either way, Tentacruel is a fine play. So I go into that, and right here, I am just going to fire off a Scald, maybe burn something as he goes into Nihilego, takes a good chunk from that, and thinking that, okay, maybe I can get a high roll or burn it or something like that. I am just going to go for a second Scald as he goes for Psyshock, which doesn't quite KO the Tentacruel, but now Nihilego is low. I don't have to worry about any shenanigans with that, and I am going to switch out my Tentacruel right here just in case he happens to be carrying Toxic Spikes on his Nihilego. I want to be able to switch in Tentacruel later in the game to absorb those, and I also have a 100% counter in Cress, so which I am just going to go into right here, as this does give me the opportunity to rest, get rid of that poison, and also potentially burn a Sleep Turn or two. He can go into Doublade, but I think that he'll just try to wear me down with Nihilego at this point, so I'm just going to go for the rest right here, get back up to full health. Nihilego can't switch out as it's going to die to Stealth Rock, so I'm just free to burn some turns of sleep, and luckily I get the immediate Psychic, as he does have a Pyapa Berry, but Nihilego is so low at this point that I am just able to knock it out, and Cress burnt a turn of sleep and is up near full health as he goes into his Thunderous. Now this thing is terrifying. If he has Z Dark Pulse, I calced it and it wouldn't quite knock out my Cress, and maybe if I Slept Talked like Psychic or Toxic, that would just be enough, because really I just need a little tiny bit more damage off on this Thunderous, so I am going to leave the Cress in, as I can rest up on Slowbro or Florges later. So even if I take a Gigavolt Havoc or a Z Dark Pulse, so as like Black Hole Eclipse, I should be able to live that and potentially get Psychic or Toxic off, or unless I Sleep Talk Rest, which is always a possibility. So he goes for the Dark Pulse, reveals that he is Life Orb, meaning that Cress can actually take another hit if I want to go for that. So I'm just going to go for the Sleep Talk, maybe get a Toxic or a Psychic, and I do get Toxic. And because he's Life Orb, I actually didn't need to Sleep Talk anything at that point, because with the Life Orb recoil, he is now in range guaranteed of Rock Slide from Landorus, and also like coming back in on rocks of +2 Scizor. So really, I didn't need the Toxic. Is it helpful? 100%, but I didn't necessarily need it. So now, I mean, I can stay in with Cress and take the Dark Pulse and then rest up, which, I mean, I'm definitely going to do that. So I was risking the flinch right there. Like, that turn actually took me a little bit, because I was like, okay, if he crits or flinches me, well, if he crits me, Cress is dead, and that's very bad, because then I lose my check to Lopunny, Slowbro, Florges, that type of stuff. So I was being kind of risky that turn, but I didn't want to give up any of my sacks yet, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to risk this. He's not Z. There's no way he can knock me out except with a crit or a flinch, so I am just going to stay in and try to rest. As he does go Doublade, I figured that he'd probably go Doublade, but, I mean, that's... if he does, then I have switch-ins that I can go for. And right here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to be a little bit cheeky. Kang is bulky enough. I can go into it, even if he predicts me, and goes for Iron Head over Shadow Claw. Or not Iron Head, he has Sacred Sword. If he goes for Sacred Sword over Shadow Claw, I can chew that. And I decided to try to just predict it, but I mean, he predicts me very nicely and is going to go for the Sacred Sword. But as you can see, Kang chews that. Like, that is super effective, and Kang just takes 62, and now I pretty much get a kill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for an Earthquake. I mean, it knocks out the Doublade. If he goes Slowbro, I still have the Thunder for that thing if I, you know, I mean, once I get him low enough. And I do go for the Earthquake. It does absolutely nothing, revealing that he is more than likely, well, I mean, he's Fizz Def, very, like, he's 100% Fizz Def, but not necessarily, like, fully invested. I don't know, I didn't calc because I was like, I feel like Thunder's going to KO. I'm just going to go for that right here, as he does scout very nicely, goes back into his Doublade, sacking that to the Thunder. And honestly, at this point, Scizor is looking pretty good to go. Like, it really is. As soon as I can get +2, although I do have to be careful because Fire Blast from Slowbro, HP Fire from Florges, Megalop can carry Fire Punch, Thunderous would hit me, probably knock me out with Life Orb T-Bolt. I didn't necessarily count that. But basically, Scizor's looking good to go once I can get to +2, but I do have to be careful about that. And knowing that all I need is a little bit of damage on this Lop for my Thunderous, or my Landorus to be able to OHKO it with Earthquake. I'm going to go into my Drudagon, as Drudagon has done its job. It got rocks up, and now it is going to get knocked out by a return, getting some damage off on Mega Lopunny, and now I'm pretty much good to go. Like, I was thinking right here, I did a bunch of calculating. This actually took me 2 minutes, because I was thinking, okay, Scizor can take a high jump kick. I might be able to come in, set up to +2, and actually just win at this point. Because if I get to +2, Thundurus is low enough, Slowbro gets OHKO'd, Florges gets OHKO'd, Megalop gets KO'd from this range. Scizor just wins, but I did go to Megalop's Cerebi site and found out that it had Fire Punch, which has a very, very, very high possibility to knock me out. So I was like, dang it, I can't just go in. I have to play a little bit safer just because Scizor is such a guaranteed win con. So I decided to go Lando, just scare him out. If he goes Thundurus, then he takes Stealth Rock and Poison damage. And right here, I could just go for the Earthquake, KO the Lop, get some damage off on Florges. Slowbro, because of Rocks and Poison, it's going to come in. I mean, it's at 58, so it's probably in range of being 2-hit KO'd by Earthquake when he switches in on Rocks and Toxic. So regardless, Earthquake is a very free play, but I decided to be a little bit aggressive because at -1, Megalop's Fire Punch cannot knock out my Scizor. So I'm like, you know what? Now that it's at -1, I'm just going to go for the U-turn. If he switches out, I get momentum. If he stays in, I can go into Scizor and set up and win. And he does end up staying in, showing that he probably has the Ice Punch or the Ice Beam. So I'm going to go into Scizor on the Ice move, as he does reveal to have Ice Beam. And at this point, because I have the leftovers, I'm out of range of Fire Punch. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to get to +2 as he does high jump kick me. He does a ton of damage, by the way. I mean, that does quite a bit to max HP Scizor, because Megalop is very strong. And now that I'm at +2, I'm just going to go for the safe play. I go for the Bullet Punch to try to take out the Lop as he goes Slowbro. Good play. Gets me with his Rocky Helmet. And now, because of my lefties, I don't have to make any predictions. Lefties are going to somewhat be canceling out Rocky Helmet. So eventually he's just going to run out of +2 Bug Bite switch-ins if he tries to continually go Slowbro on the Bullet Punch. And again, I don't have to predict it all. I am attacking what's in front of me. If he wants to go Slowbro, yeah, I get worn down by Rocky Helmet, but due to my lefties, I'm recovering enough HP that I really don't have to worry about Rocky Helmet knocking me out. And he does just decide that, you know what, I'm just going to stay in with Slowbro here. It's game. And now Scizor is going to be able to clean up at +2. Thundurus comes in, gets knocked out by Bullet Punch. Unless it's like Babiri, HP Fire, Florges, Scizor will be able to OHKO that thing, but I'm thinking that it's not, because he did go Thundurus and then he goes Lopunny right here and both get knocked out anyway by a +2 Bullet Punch. And then Florges comes in, that thing is going to get knocked out by a Bullet Punch, and that is going to be the game. So Scizor comes through very, very, very clutch. Like, that was nice. Like, Scizor just being able to come in and set up was awesome. So yeah, go you, Scizor, way to go. And we have officially clinched playoffs now, so that's awesome in its own right. So I'm very happy, and yeah, that's just the game. Like, it's clinched playoffs, first season in majors, and I have clinched a playoff spot. I am currently #1 in my division, or in my conference, so that's pretty nice as well. And these last 2 weeks, I'm still going to go hard, because like I want to get that #1 seed, because that's a lot of respect comes with that. But clinching playoffs in my first major season of Draft League is pretty cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.